gentle with ourselves, okay? We tend to beat ourselves up. Partly it's high expectations, partly it's just kind of something that came from early on, about just feeling that we're not good enough. And so we tend to beat ourselves up. Very, very common. Not just in Camarillo or in Ventura County, but everywhere I go, this is for people, humans. Okay? Maybe some animals I don't know. I have to ask some of the people that know animals really well. I'm not sure. But people, yes. So to be, can you turn the lights down just a little bit, maybe? Can you see those slides? So-so? Yeah, so-so. We'll turn the lights down just a little bit. That's better. Thank you very much. You couldn't see it before. You couldn't see it. On the other page, good.
We have to be low expectations.
So to learn how to be gentle towards ourselves, to learn how to be gentle towards others, is a tremendous way to go through our lives, to live our lives. And, people say, well, how do I do it? Well, it's, the first thing is to want to do it, just like anything else. You won't stop smoking unless you want to stop smoking, okay? You can have all the, technology and the best doctors and this and that, rehab people, whatever. If you don't want to stop smoking, you won't, okay? So it's the same thing. You want to have that, kind of that inner commitment that I'm going to try to be more gentle with myself and with others. And just making that commitment goes a long way. Okay, it really helps a lot. And I'll talk about some other ways that help that process. And one of them is forgiveness. Okay? How many of you are very good at forgiving yourself? Raise your hands. Really good at forgiving yourself. Raise your hands. Raise your hands. A few more going up, maybe 10 or 15 or 20 maximum. I think we have more than that. We have maybe a couple hundred people in here. So we're not very good at forgiving ourselves. Okay? So all these are tying together. We're hard on ourselves, high expectations. We may be cramming too much into a short period of time, thinking that that's in our benefit. And we're not able to forgive ourselves. This is extremely important, forgiveness. And I'd like to mention something that is often used for people in relationship, okay? But it can be used outside of relationship also. You can say this to yourself, for example. And relationship here means maybe an intimate relationship, maybe a parental-child relationship, or vice versa, one way or the other, parent-child, child-parent, friends, okay? And here's what you do. It's kind of a little simple thing, but I think it can be very profound. You say to the other person, or you say to yourself, okay, you can do it either way. You say, I forgive you. Oh, sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me for everything that I've done that might have hurt you. Everything that I've done with my body, everything that I've done with my words, everything that I've done with my thoughts, okay? Intentionally or unintentionally, that has ever hurt you, please forgive me because I love you dearly and I care for you dearly. Okay? You may not remember the words exactly. I didn't either. But you get the message. Okay? This is very, very important. And so if it's between two people, it's important to reciprocate. Okay? So one person will offer this to the other person, and then the other person will, again, offer back. Okay? So please forgive me for anything that I've ever done to hurt you. With my body, with my speech, with my mind, my thoughts, that has been done intentionally or even unintentionally. Please forgive me, for I love you dearly and I care for you deeply. Okay? And that's something that some people make a little pact that they're going to do on New Year's, on their anniversary, or every day, every morning when they get up. I don't know. But that's just one little technique for developing forgiveness. Okay, now, turn inward. Okay. So we're getting in now into the field of what we call mindfulness. I don't know, did you all see the Time magazine last month? I think it was February 3. On the cover was a picture of a woman, and in big letters it said, "Mindful Revolution." Mindful Revolution. Time magazine. So people are beginning to wake up to the fact that we live a very stressful life full of lots of tension, and that we don't know what to do about it. And now some techniques that come from Buddhism, but are not unique actually to Buddhism, are being developed in a, not just for Buddhists, using non-Buddhist terminology, and for anyone that wants to try to reduce stress and tension. And this is called MBSR, mindfulness-based stress relaxation, MBSR. And it's catching on like wildfire in many, many different walks of life, in many fields. We're finding it seeping into academia, and now in many universities, there are people studying mindfulness in one form or another. And there's a list. I don't have it on a slide here, but I showed it recently. Where was I? I was in Orlando, Florida, and also when I was in Hong Kong last month. I showed the slide of all the different areas in the field of medicine where research is showing a benefit for this kind of, this kind of MBSR, this mindfulness-based kind of relaxation. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about that because it's very, very important. And so the first step here is to turn inward. Okay, as I was coming over here, I got this kind of flash, which was stop, look, and listen. Anybody heard that? Yeah. I say, wow, not just me, huh? Great. So I think it was when my parents taught me how to cross the street. Is that right? Okay, good. I just did. So we can use that same kind of, approach. Stop, look, and listen. Stop. So stop all the busyness and the sort of, all the junk that we're involved. Just stop. Look means look inward. Okay, same as this slide. Turn inward, or look inward. Okay. And then listen. Pay attention to what's happening. What am I feeling? What am I thinking? What's my mood? What sort of sensations am I having in my body? All these things, pay attention. Okay? And when we do that, we're in the present. We're watching what's happening right now. Okay? That's very, very important. Because so much of our junk is when we're in the future or in the past. We're planning for the future, okay? Worrying about the future, or worrying about the past. Okay? Much of our time is spent there. Now, sometimes we have to review the future. We have to, review the past. We have to think about the future. Sometimes that's, of course, necessary. But the point is, we control it. It doesn't control us. Most of us now probably are out of control. Okay? The past and the future just take over. We can't. It's just overwhelming. Okay? Very difficult to stay in the present. What we're trying to do is train ourselves more and more to stay in the present, and then if we need to be in the past or the future, of course we go there. But we're in control. Okay? Let's see what I have next. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. Inner peace. It's okay. There's the past, there's the present, and there's the future, okay? So there's the past, there's the future, kind of upside down, and there's the present, bold red letters, okay? So what we can do, when the past stuff comes up in our minds, in our hearts, our minds, you know, we just leave it. Please don't engage it. You don't have to embrace it. You don't have to, you know, kind of run with it. You know, you just leave it. Train yourself just to leave it. Okay? Oh, I'm in the past, just leave it. And similarly, when we start jumping into the future, you know, gosh, this is going to be over at 8:30. What am I going to have for dinner? Just leave it. Just leave it. You'll get dinner, don't worry. Whether you think about it now or you don't, it's not going to determine whether you get dinner or not. Right? In fact, if you leave it and you stay present, you're going to have something much greater than dinner. Okay? Dr. Richard. Okay. So, good. Now, an example of this is when we get absorbed. Absorbed. Anybody here play music? Raise your hand if you play music or used to play music. Musicians? Some of you. Anybody listen to music? Really enjoy listening to music? Yeah, everybody does. Anybody paint or do something in the art field? Wow, we've got a lot of artists here. Fantastic. Anybody like to look at art? Appreciate looking at art? Lots of people. Okay, wonderful. Often, when we're creating music or listening to music, when we're creating art or looking at art, we, at least for some time, we get absorbed. We kind of go in. Okay? And when we do that, we're in the present. Okay? Kids are very good at this. Kids can just go like this. I'll stand here. Kids just can go like this. They're just right there in the present. We kind of lose that ability because we get too much caught up in the past and the future. We get overwhelmed by it. We don't know we're being overwhelmed by it. We just don't feel well. We don't have any idea why we don't feel well. Well, part of the reason we're not in the present. That's part of the reason. We're perseverating about the past and we're worrying about the future. Okay. So to recognize that, stop, look, listen. Okay, recognize it. And just tell yourself, okay, stop. Don't have to go there. Okay. Now, it doesn't work the first time. I mean, we've been doing this for decades, many of us. Maybe many decades, many of us, okay? So we're so habituated, so used to it, it's not something we overturn, trying it once. So we have to be persistent. This is very, very important. We have to try this again and again and again. It's good stuff and it works. That's a testimonial. Okay, so we'll start then shifting. This is kind of a slightly different approach, but similar. We'll start shifting our focus away from me, I, actually, this slide, I made this slide, but a friend of mine helped me. His name is, I want to give him credit, his name is Junling Gao. He's a cardiologist, and he's from central China. And some years back, he moved to Hong Kong for part of his postgraduate studies. He became a doctor and worked as a cardiologist in the very central part of China. And then moved to Hong Kong to do further studies, became a neurologist, a brain doctor, and now has moved on to what's called the Center for Buddhist Studies at Hong Kong University. And he's doing research using the fMRI, the functional MRI, magnetic resonance machine, and also EEG studies, trying to sort out what's happening with people that do a lot of meditation, what's happening with positive mental states versus negative mental states. So Junling was assigned to me to be my TA, a teaching assistant. I told him, you should really teach everything. You've got lots more credentials than I do. But we worked very well together. So he added, Junling added. So focusing away, shifting away from me, I, okay, to focusing more on others' welfare, and this is, you all know Mother Teresa. The fruit of faith is love, and the fruit of love is service. Okay? And also focusing more on others' welfare, and this particularly is compassion and wisdom. Anybody recognize this person? Dalai Lama, yes, very good. This is His Holiness the Dalai Lama when he was quite young in Tibet. And here he's debating, and that's the method they use. It's a Socratic method, and it's one of the methods they use in an educational system. And they go wild sometimes. No, not with the Dalai Lama, but the other monks, I mean, they're very physical. And what they're doing is they're going back and forth. It's a Socratic method, and they're trying to refine their understanding of the philosophical point, basically who we are at a deeper level. And here he is taking his Geshe exam. You can see these, pretty august-looking special monks that are. He's asking the questions, and they're, trying to rebut or refute the things that he's asking. And it's very well defined how this process goes. And he's basically doing this for his essentially PhD in Buddhist studies. It takes about 20 to 25 years. Here, a PhD is often about 6 years after you have a bachelor's degree, so you could say that's 10 years. But here it's 20 to 25 years. And here is a very old, rare photograph of His Holiness debating for his Geshe exam. So I call this compassionate wisdom. Okay? And actually, compassion and wisdom are two sides of the same coin. Did you know that? No? Okay. Well, maybe I'll say a few words about that. It's a little tricky, but I'm going to say. Let's see. Okay. Let's go back. Compassion from a Buddhist perspective has different levels. Okay? Compassion basically is the wish, and then when we're able, the action of relieving suffering. Okay? So we want to take away suffering, and then when we're able to, we actually do it. We engage in eliminating and reducing suffering. Okay, now then the question is, what is suffering? Okay? And so from a Buddhist understanding, it's a little different than we ordinarily understand. There's 3 levels. First level is like we always think. It's pain and suffering. Okay? Physical pain, mental pain, spiritual pain, emotional pain. Okay? This is suffering. We all understand that. We've all been through it. Anybody here who's never had any suffering, raise your hand. I want to see if there's one hand. I'm not raising my hand. I'm modeling. I've had lots of suffering. Okay. So we all have suffering. It's part of life. In fact, that's what the Buddha said. After the Buddha became enlightened, he taught what are now called, he didn't call it this, but are now called the Four Noble Truths. The first of which is life is suffering. Okay? There are respites in between, but basically the underlying thing is suffering. Birth, we think, is such a beautiful thing. It's actually very difficult for mom and baby. Okay, it's not so easy. And then as we start to age, it's not so easy. Not so easy. And then when we get sick, it's even more tough. Okay? And then when we die, it's probably, for most of us, the toughest time. Okay? And then there are little times in between when we get little respites, but then we worry about how long is this respite going to last. So that's the second noble truth, which is the suffering of change. That things that are pleasurable don't last. Okay? For example, we go to the beach, we worked a hard week on the weekend, go to the beach, we lay out, fall asleep, wake up in the afternoon, in the evening, go home, have some dinner, go to sleep, and we wake up. We have a terrible sunburn. So this pleasure of the beach turned into a terrible pain, sunburn, burn. The other is, an example I use a lot is a buffet. You the friend says, okay, let's go back for more. And you get a tummy ache, of course. The other example is, I think this car is called a Lotus. I saw a lot of these in Hong Kong. A lot of rich people. A Lotus, do you know what a Lotus is? I think it's a fancy kind of race car, but people drive it on the street, I think. It's not just on the racetrack. And so you buy your Lotus, you spend all your money, you buy your Lotus, yeah, And then you wake up one day and go out to, drive your